I believe in the right of the Jewish people on Eretz Israel and the obligation of the journalist to be the voice of the people. כך כותב אריאל כהנה, הפרשן המדיני של מקור ראשון בבלוג שלו. אריאל כהנה, עיתונאי המשמש מאז 2009 בראש הדסק המדיני של מקור ראשון. בעבר כתב למעריב, כיום מייצג את אתר החדשות גם NRG. מרבה לסקר את פעולות ראש הממשלה ואת התמודדות ישראל בזירה הבינלאומית. אריאל כהנה אינו חושש לייצג עמדה לאומית. במאמר לפני כמה שבועות כתב על נושא הריבונות כהזדמנות פז, נסיבות היסטוריות נדירות מגלגלות בפני הציבור הלאומי בישראל הזדמנות בלתי חוזרת לסגת מנאום בר אילן, על הימין להתעורר מהקיפאון ולהציע תוכנית מוסכמת שנתניהו לא יוכל להתעלם ממנה. We have the honor and pleasure of having Ariel Kahana, the commentator in Makor Rishon, מעריב, etc., who wrote about the incredible opportunity for sovereignty. בבקשה.
Shalom everybody. Thank you for inviting me to be here. I travel a lot between Migdal Oz and Alon Shvut, and I always see the sign of veGaon. I never came in. I could not imagine that it was so developed. So kol hakavod to all of you, and continue the important work. Thank you for inviting me to be here in front of you. I hope I will be able to enlighten you. The truth is that Nadia said that she's not talking about the Parashat Shavua, so I will read to you a joke that a friend sent me a few minutes ago. I will read it in English.
Parashat joke for this week. Question: how did the 4 kings conquer the 5 kings? Answer: Electoral College.
I didn't have to translate that. David Weinberg sent it to me from the University of Bar Ilan. Listen, when Nadia and Judith asked me to come to speak here, it was 3 months ago, or maybe last year. And really, after the article that she quoted that I wrote, that even if Clinton was elected, even then the opportunity of sovereignty would have been opened, and now even more than ever, we are in a few people expected the results to be like they are now, the election of Trump. I want to say a comment from a different point of view, from an Israeli point of view, that I think is important as Israelis and supporters of Israel. I also want to say to welcome to the group that came from America, to AFSI. I, of course, understand the happiness about the choosing of Trump, and I'll explain the great advantages from his election. But we as Israelis, we have to remember, for the long term, the Israeli interest is bipartisan support. We need the support of both parties. We have to remember that. It could be that in 4 years there will be another president from another party. And because it is easier and better for us today with one party, if we only are going to support one party, in 4 years the other party will say, okay, you are with the Republicans, get along with them, but now we are. Let's not open now a discussion, please. I'm willing to discuss what you said later. I wanted to say in the history of the relationship between Israel and America, today the Republicans are much more easy for us, much better for us, but it wasn't always like that. Once it used to be that Democrats were, and the Democratic Party was more in favor of Israel. So for the long term, we have an incredible good thing which is called a bipartisan support, and we should keep that. And it's so great that we live in a democracy that everybody can express their opinions. And it's beautiful to see it in front of our eyes, such a process. How some people are pushing that one person should be elected, but the people decide something else. It's a wonderful thing to see. And it's wonderful to live in such countries where this can happen. But if we only talk about Israeli interests for the long term, I think you know that in the disagreements there between the two parties, there's not one topic where they agree. There's only one topic where they agree together, which is to support Israel. And in my humble opinion, we should keep this. That was an important point for me to say as an introduction. After this, we are really, I think, in an incredible window of opportunity. Even if Clinton had been elected, but now 100 times more when a president like that was elected, and the people around the president who are in very important positions are those people. I would like to go back a little bit backwards, and let's say, pretend that Clinton would have been elected. Let's pretend. What could we have done and what should we have done and say? We should have said, Mrs. President, why should you come again and send here Josh Mitchell and Kerry and waste your time with another emissary who will try to understand both sides, talk about the Palestinian state, 67, Jerusalem, blah, blah. Nothing will come out of it. It failed. Not because that I think it's bad. It's failed. So forget about the reasons. It failed, Mrs. Clinton. Again you tried. Again you tried. It doesn't go. Why should you to embarrass yourself again? That's number one. Number two, every person with a little bit of common sense, thinking, if he thinks that the most important thing in the Middle East is the relationship between Israel and the Palestinians, anybody who understands what's going on understands that it's ridiculous. Some people still think like that. So even if a democratic president would have been elected, that would not have stood ground. Let's say the truth, looking at the different countries. The truth is, there hasn't been found any way, there's no effective way that has been found yet to rule the Arab states. It's a fact. We believe in democracy, okay? And it's the best way of ruling. But when we were in the Arab Spring, and people thought that the Arab Spring was going to bring forth Arab democracies, we saw the results. That did not make it better for the Arab states. In fact, the only Arab countries where there is still stability is Morocco, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, where there is a monarch, a king. So we think maybe that democracy is good for the Arabs, but the reality shows to us that they need something else. Of course, there's another option, which is a dictatorship, which is terrible. What is the most important thing, in my eyes, none of those ways of ruling do not promise stability and economic welfare for the people and well-being. So when you come to us and tell us, let's create a Palestinian state and that will bring peace, this Palestinian state will fail. We know that. You saw what happened in Gaza after the disengagement. The so-called tolerant Abu Mazen people who so-called want peace, they were thrown and killed. And the brutal Hamas, they couldn't do anything against Hamas. So if tomorrow Israel would withdraw and do what, I know that you all know this, but I have to say it, if tomorrow a Palestinian state would have been found, and with Fatah, Hamas would take over in a minute. So what's this joke? It will be a failed state. Everybody sees that. even if Hamas would not kill or Abu Mazen, look at all the other Arab states. There is not one Arab state that pushes forward the interest of its people. Not one Arab state. I say this as an Israeli and a Jew who lives in the Middle East. I feel bad that the Arab states are failing. It's a pity. People live there. Why do they have to live like in the Middle Ages? So, to come and to tell Israel that with what is going on in the Middle East, that we should take this crazy risk, that we should leave and to dismantle Jewish communities, for what? I quote here, not Netanyahu Bennett, I quote Henry Kissinger. Why to create another failed state in the Middle East? He said that a year ago. It didn't get a lot of coverage. He said it at an event for 25 years to the Rabin murder. Nobody gave it a lot of publicity, but that's what he said. So I say, even if Trump was not elected, but the concept failed of the two-state solution, it's not relevant anymore. And we, with those arguments, the state of Israel, the government of Israel, anyway would have had to tell her, to any president, we want to open a new page. We want to put on the table new formulas, new suggestions, such suggestions that will take care of the state of Israel, but that also will help the Arabs who live in Israel and who will bring real peace and quiet. That's what we should have said, no matter who won. In front of the democratic president, let's be honest, I don't think we could have convinced them. But today, that now we have this Trump government, of course, with the people around him, those arguments have feet. The doors are open, wide open for those kind of arguments and concepts. A few people around Trump, I could even say that what I just said is mild to compared to how they are. They're much more right-wing even. We have an incredible historical window of opportunity. We cannot even imagine to change completely the entire way of dealing with the Palestinians, to turn over the table, to really turn over the entire genesis, the entire way the world is running. Yesterday I was in a million different kinds of interviews, and people told me, you're exaggerating. Wait, let's see what he'll be. I says, okay, you're right. I don't know what Trump will really say soon. But I know what we have to say and why I am optimistic. Mike Pence, an evangelical, an incredible supporter of Israel. You know, when he was a senator, when Arik Sharon went to do the disengagement, I don't remember if Sharon spoke to him personally or somebody else spoke to Pence. Pence said, I don't understand you. Why are you withdrawing? He didn't understand why we were withdrawing. I see from the outside. I put aside my private opinions now. I'm just telling you, if the deputy president talks like that, that is an incredible ambiance. Newt Gingrich, what is he going to receive? We don't know yet. In addition to this incredible support to Israel, it's a man who said that he is not sure that there's a Palestinian people. He said that. Even in Israel, people don't dare to say this anymore. But all of a sudden, this kind of saying is acceptable to talk like that. Mike Huckabee. I don't have to tell you, you know him better than I. Like Nadia said to Helen, every time he comes to Israel, he comes to the right side of the green line. to the correct side of the green line. Who else? Giuliani. Who did I forget? Of course, Giuliani. Thank you. A month ago, I was in a congress in Washington. They invited Giuliani to speak. He was very tired, and because of the elections, and he said, listen, I don't understand why Israelis want a Palestinian state. And in fact, and I don't understand why we, the Americans, are in favor of such an idea. It's clear that such a state can be only if it doesn't support terror, but it does support terror, and it hides terrorists. So even Giuliani, who's very close to Trump, and all the names that I mentioned before are only just a few who did not, and they did not leave Trump at all. Thank God, Dafka, those people stayed close to him. Those are the names that he mentioned during his speech, during his congratulatory speech. Those are the names he mentioned. In addition to this gallery of people, there's these two advisors, Greenblatt and David Friedman, Jewish advisors. How do we say? They have the same views as anybody else in this hall. And they have been with Trump from his business 20, 30 years. This is not a new. And he trusts them. And you know there's very few people he trusts. So this ambiance, those amazing people, the way of thinking, opens for us an incredible window of opportunity that we must take. When I say us, I mean not the right wing, not Dafka those who are already in favor of sovereignty. I talk about the Jews, Israeli Jews, who are there, who are here. The first time for years we have a government in America that doesn't say, I support Israel, but it says, I support Israel, full stop. Now we have to put the content, and here there's some kind of historical story that I have to tell you, a little bit of history. We are in Judea and Samaria 50 years. The 21st years, they talk about the Jordanian option. The hope was then that Israel and Jordan would come to some agreement, there will be peace, and we will solve the problems. It stopped. We're not going to say why, in 1988. And from 1988 till Camp David, the second Camp David convention in 2000 with Barak, the concept was a Palestinian state or having an agreement with the PLO. That will bring peace. The moment the Intifada erupted, and of course after the disengagement and Hamas, anybody rational and real understood that the Palestinian state is something that should not be created and has no chance. So, and I tell you by the way, also the Europeans understand this, who keep on talking about the two-state vision, but when you sit with them quietly and you have a diplomatic meal with them, they talk about the two-state vision, but then at the end of the meal they say, listen, you know that's not really true. We know that it's not going to happen. We're just saying so. Also, they know in their heart that it's not going to happen and it's not feasible. I'm not saying that it's easy. And as you know, diplomats don't say the truth. We will continue to hear from them all those slogans, but inside their heart, and they know themselves and understand, even the European Union, that the concept they go with is not realistic. So first it was about Jordan, then a Palestinian state, but now, in my humble opinion, because of all the historical developments, the so-called Arab Spring, the fact that there is a new government, and also Trump doesn't come from somewhere. He doesn't owe anything to anyone. He is somebody who is not tied by obligations. And in Israel, let's remind, we have one of the most right-wing governments. Most of the Likud, I'm not talking about Netanyahu, but most of the Likud and the Jewish Home ideologically are basically the same, more or less the same. We're not going to talk now about internal Israeli politics, but in one word, we're talking about a very right-wing government with Lieberman living not far from here in Nogdim. So we have international reasons. We have a new government in America. We have a right-wing government. Altogether, those three things lead to the same direction. And let's add to that the 50 years to 1967. 50 years. It's such a long time already. Let's do something. Let's do something. How much longer can we drag this? I once read a book, and the Americans continue to say this. They told me, the Democrats, you, the Israelis, you didn't decide what you want. Once there was a book, when it was 30 years to 67, the policy of not deciding. And let's be honest, we haven't decided. We have the settlers, and above us, the government talks about a Palestinian state. And a person who looks from outside and says, we don't know what the Israelis want. And there is something to this point. We're talking about two voices, the people and the government. We're Jews, so there's always more than one voice. There's an internal and now with the 50 years, the time has come to say we understood, we tried, we wanted, we gave them a chance, it didn't go. Go to our direction. Let's do something else completely. That will finally calm down the situation, that will of course take care of the needs of Israel, but will also give an answer, how will I say it, will not abandon the Arabs either. They have needs, they have wishes, and we can find a way of living together good. Something good for them, something good for us. That is what needs to be said. I don't know if you want, but if you want my private opinion, is that what we need to do now is a merging of Bennett's plan, Area C, and the Alon plan of the 70s. One second. So Bennett, Alon, and the veGaon plan. The plan of Alon talked about a area in the mountain that is in the hands of the Arabs. The autonomy of veGaon talked about that they will have autonomy inside their cities as their own governance. But the difference between veGaon and Alon is that veGaon spoke about the IDF having full control of the entire area, and the IDF has to have full control and ability to enter everywhere. That is, according to me, the most important thing of what should be said. The IDF has to be able to act everywhere. We have to take those three plans, Bennett, the sovereignty over sea, and put together Yigal Alon's plan and veGaon's plan. That's my private opinion. That is basically what is going on today. And to tell to the new government, President Trump, this is what we suggest. Let's make borders, let's decide on the borders. We cannot have less than that. We are going to act and be free to act anywhere we want. That doesn't mean that we only will take care of the Jews, but also of the Arabs. Why? Because if the IDF leaves from Judea and Samaria, who are the first ones to suffer? Who are the first one to enter? The Arabs are going to suffer from that. It's going to be or ISIS or Hamas or whoever. If the IDF leaves, they will come in. So I'm not ashamed to say, I also wrote about it, when I am in Judea and Samaria, I live in Adam, on the right and the correct side of the green line. I'm not ashamed to say, I'm doing this because this is my land. We have a right to every millimeter on this land. Those are my opinions. But I think that we have to take responsibility over the Arab population that lives here. And I'm not ashamed to say that when I am here, yes, I also help my Arab neighbors. Because if I wasn't here, or he was killed, he would have been killed by militiot, like in Syria, in Yemen, in Iraq, or like in any other Arab states. So the Jewish presence in Judea and Samaria is, of course, important to the Jews, but we can say that it's also important for the Arabs. And we have to come with this point to the new government in America. Why am I saying this? Because I will say it especially to you here in this hall. We have an ideology, but to be smart in politics is to take your ideology and to translate it to the reality. And when you translate it to reality, there's always problems. Implementing your ideology into is also sometimes you have to give up a little bit. But the important thing is to try to take the best circumstances so that you can implement your ideology as much as you can, according to my humble opinion. And this is the time. This is the historical time to try to get as much as we can from and implement our ideology. Even if we have to give up a little bit, I hope you're not angry, but even if we have to give up here and there, I think we're in a window of opportunity where Israel really can get the most of what she ever could have received, and we have to take advantage of that. What is the challenge, and what is the timetable? What is the timetable? As you know, Obama is still for 2 months in the White House. No, till the 20th of January and not the 1st. You have to fix your joke. As somebody said, he has another 70 days, but who's counting? Somebody said. So Obama is still there. So what is important? But it's important what is going to happen when Trump goes in. The next 2 months, I think, Israel has to take advantage in order to prepare a new plan. And when the first meeting will take place between Netanyahu and Trump, the Prime Minister will give him a plan. Mr. President, this is what I want. Not that the Prime Minister will wait till what Trump says to him. The opposite. No. Bibi Netanyahu has to come with a plan saying, this is what we want. What can you give us? Please, questions later. That's what we want. This must be done in the next 2 months. If you look a little bit further, let's take the worst scenario. Trump will maybe stand trial. We don't know what's going to happen with that, but some people are talking about that. So let's take the worst scenario for Trump. Maybe he'll be taken down. I don't know. Maybe he'll only be there for a few months. I don't know. He's supposed to have a trial in another month from now, from what happened in the past. That's what we hear from America. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen. I have no idea what's going and how it works there. It could be that not. But I want to take the worst case scenario. Okay? Maybe this whole idyllic situation will finish in a few months. A better scenario is that in 2 years there will be elections in Congress. And let's say, again, the worst case scenario, the Republicans might lose. I forgot to add that in addition to a very pro-Israel government, also the same thing in the Senate and the House, there's a majority of Republicans. But let's say in 2 years he will lose in the majority. So we have 2 years. It could be that in 4 years he will lose the presidency. So from timetable point of view, that's what we have, or a few months, or 2 years, or 4 years. Whoever wants to take advantage of that has to take advantage of that time. That's the time we have. Now, the question is asked for those who live here in Israel. What are we supposed to do? I guess you saw that in those few days since Trump was elected, the more right-wing branch, Tzipi Chotoveli, Elkin, Bennett, Shaked, said, let's take this opportunity to stop talking about a two-state solution, let's go a new way. On the other hand, from the Prime Minister's office, we said, we hear, wait, let's be careful. They're trying to keep it cool. I think whoever is in favor of what I suggested here, that we have to use this opportunity, has to, on Sunday, to start, put pressure, incredible pressure, on the entire political system we have 2 months to push, and they will disappear in a minute. In order for the Prime Minister will feel that his supporters, the entire camp, that we have expectations from him and that he has support to do such a thing, he has to feel it from below, from the people. Maybe it is clear to the people who are in this hall, but I'm talking like a journalist who goes to all the political events. The politicians always ask, and the leader always asks, where's the public? Where's the people? Where are they standing? And the voices that come from below are very, very important. Very important. I know, and I remember, you go to a Hafgana, a demonstration, who pays attention? It's not true. It's not true. When the voices are heard from below, it has an influence upstairs. Look at what Mona. I was there for Shabbat. As long as the Amona people were quiet, also the Knesset members were quiet. They didn't do anything. But the moment they woke up and to do a lot of noise and then made an incredible event on Sukkot, it creates effects and it moves political moves. So if we're talking about such small things, what about the historical opportunity of making noise? We must make noise. We have to start pressuring. We have to express what we want and what we think, because this is the occasion. And who knows if it will ever come back? Well, let's say it better. Who knows when it will come back? This is the window of opportunity. If we want to take advantage of it, we have to say it out loud. The last thing I want to say about sovereignty. It's not easy. It's really, really not easy to come and to say sovereignty or ribonut and demand it in front of the international community. And they should have no doubt, all the diplomats and all the ambassadors, they know about you, they know about this, they listen to your voices, they write everything down, they have everything written down. They know about you. Of course, we are the most important people in the world. So all those diplomats know everything. Sometimes I'm so surprised myself from how they look at the small things. They're so involved. Many of them, most of them. With this ambiance, the word sovereignty doesn't pass easily. But if this is your opinion, then you have to say it. Come and say it. I can't stand, it happened yesterday since Trump, all kind of people telling me, wait, why are we demanding already to transfer the embassy to Jerusalem? We should wait. Why should we wait? If this is my position, I will say it. Why to wait? Why do I have to hide? If they will say that it's not easy for them, I will say, okay, it's a problem, but it's my opinion. Why should I hide my opinions if that's what I think? In addition, Trump is the example. People respect you if you say what you think and what you believe. So we don't have to lower our expectation and say, oh, maybe they will not accept this, so we shouldn't say it. If you believe in Ribonut, in sovereignty, you say sovereignty. From understanding the political Israeli politics, what should we do? Because the message alone is not enough, is not simple. Like I said before, we need the ideology to bring it down to reality. So when people talk to you and you say sovereignty, and they ask you, what's with the Arabs? What do you suggest to the Palestinians? Here we have to come and say, you have to give an answer. If you call for sovereignty, you have to give an answer. There's all kind of plans that go around. I told you what my private opinion was, which is of course not the one that needs to be chosen. And let's not discuss now all the options. It doesn't matter what solution you bring, but one has to choose something. We have to connect to the existing diplomatic talk and give an answer to the things. If somebody says to you, okay, you want sovereignty, but what do you give to the Arabs? I give them this right, that right. You have to have an answer. I think they have a right. Other people will say they don't have a right, national rights. But we have to answer. Because when a saying is being said without, in the air, without tachlis, it stays in the air. So if we connect everything we said with the existing historical events and 50 years to 67, a right-wing government, a new government in America, if that's the message, sovereignty, and I think there is a willingness to listen to this message, we have to translate it to the existing language, and that will give it a chance to turn it realistic, to promote Israel and to push Israel to a much better place than where it is today in the Palestinian issue. That's what I have to say.
אתם יודעים שלפני 5 שנים נשים בירוק התחילו את הקמפיין של sovereignty, של הריבונות. You know that 5 years ago Women in Green started this campaign of sovereignty. אנחנו לא היינו הראשונים, we were not the first one. היו הרבה יחידים שכבר דגלו בזה, אם זה אורי אליצור, קרליין גליק, מרטין שרמן, הרבה יחידים דגלו בזה, דחפו את זה. There were many, we were not the first ones, there were different individuals who were pushing forward already before us, the sovereignty idea, אורי אליצור, of blessed memory, קרליין גליק, מרטין שרמן, as individuals, כיחידים, כתבו על זה, they wrote about it, ואנחנו הפכנו את זה לקמפיין, we turned this into a campaign, ואנחנו, וזה לכן אני מספר לך את זה, בזמנו, at that time, זה היה כזה מופרך לפני 5 שנים, it was so out of the ordinary, שהחלטנו בנשים בירוק לתת במה לכל הדעות. We decided to give a podium to all the different opinions. גם אלה שאומרים רק C, גם A ו-B. אמרנו קודם כל לדחוף את הרעיון. First, to push the idea of sovereignty. That was the decision we took 5 years ago. החלטנו את זה לפני 5 שנים. אם זה, וככה עשינו את הכנסים, that's how we did the conferences. Our journal, יש לנו כבר 7, אבל באמת, אם יהודית הייתה עומדת פה גם, היא הייתה אומרת, הרגשנו גם עוד לפני הבחירות. But it is true that we felt even before the elections, a few months ago, that we must now go on to the next step. שאנחנו צריכים לעבור לשלב הבא. כי אנשים אומרים, אוקיי, הבנתי, ריבונות, אבל איך עושים את זה? ובאמת הקמנו איזשהו צוות, יש איזשהו group of people that now are working on this, and Karen is here at a part of that group, שאנחנו בעצם, יש לנו צוות שעובד על זה, we have a group of people working on that, אנחנו חשבנו שיש לנו כמה חודשים או לפחות אולי שנה, we thought we had some time to think about it, מה שאתה חידדת לנו היום, זה שאין לנו זמן. You clarified to us that we have no time. צריך לעבוד על זה יום ולילה. We have to work on this plan יום ולילה, ובמקביל, and parallel to that, גם לעשות רעש. To also make noise. Continue pushing forward the sovereignty. יש לנו הרבה עבודה, מה שעוד לא אמרנו, what we didn't say is that אנחנו כן מתכננים גם כנס, יש לנו כבר תאריך, גם together with AFSI and others. There's a big conference planned. We'll tell you more about it in a few days when we have more details. אבל אז אני חושבת שקודם כל אנחנו אומרים תודה רבה לאריאל כהנה.